the next phase, which was really to say that now, people are now becoming aware of this, but people are now saying, yeah, so but what do you guys do? I mean, who are you? We understand that you're somewhere in this space, so what do you do? And then we ran the second real, I would say large campaign, which was very much a, positioning statement combined with unveiling our product range. So it showcased.
So by this time you had a product.
We had the product. We were still only in 4, 5, 8 cities. But that didn't stop us. We knew what our plans were. So, normally people say that, if you're only in 4 cities, you don't need to go on television. It's a big wave. But we knew what our plans were, and we were in the process of rolling out. So we said, okay, we will do it. So we went in there and we created a montage. The film itself was a montage of different products. So different products were showcased, whether it was home loans, whether it was the bank itself. At that time, the bank was considered different. We were at ICICI, bank was different. The bank, home loans, auto loans, bond, credit card, bonds. So therefore, we had, as I said, we unveiled our portfolio of products. As I said, banking, bonds, home loans, auto loans. Cards had not been launched yet at that time. And I think what was important was that we made a positioning statement, and I think this is where Dora played a very important role. Now, as I said, we were new to marketing and brand building and communication, and in our mind we were, somewhat restricted in our thinking. I said, okay, now people have started to recognize our name, now we need to tell them which products we do, and that's fine. We had a very limited objective. And I think he expanded that objective and said that no, it's not enough just to tell them what your products are. You have to tell them why should they even consider you. Yeah, so big deal, you offer these products, so what difference does that make to my life?
There's so many other banks that offer the same thing.
But having said that, there weren't so many others. Home loans was only offered by HDFC, bonds was only us and IDBI. So it was not as though it was, the way it is today. We sometimes tend to forget that at that time, the competitive space was very limited.
How many people were doing car loans at that time?
Citibank and Kotak.
That's it. Okay.
So, therefore he told us, no, it's, just showing your products is very unidimensional communication. You need to have the second dimension, which is why should they even think about it. And that was where we came with our first positioning statement, which was that we use technology to bring financial services to your doorstep. So the convenience, we use technology to bring you convenience was our first positioning statement. And to be honest, until we came to Hum Hai Na, for so many years we stayed with that. Fundamentally positioning statement was, we know how to use technology, we use it to make life more convenient for you, banking more convenient. So that's what we therefore ran, and maybe we can show you that film as well. That had no celebrities, it was just a regular montage film, and it showed, as I said, the portfolio of products, and it made this positioning statement.
How is it done? The technology part of it, the visual aspect.
We showed, for instance, some shots of our dealing room, just to give a high-tech feel, with all those flat-screen monitors. Today, flat-screen monitors are passé, but at that time, flat-screen monitors looked very tech, and so it, internet, by then we already had in our bank, we were the first bank to have launched internet banking. So we showed, the internet services that we had. So we found a way to, sort of bring it all together and to be able to communicate. We were amongst the first people to have such a large call center. That is also all technology enabled. So we put these pieces together like a jigsaw and then, sort of presented that. So that was the second phase of our communication. Then we had, we ran that for quite some time. And it was at about that time that we said that, we need to, our businesses were growing very nicely. We were starting to by then enter some of the smaller towns. And we said, we need something which is going to appeal in the smaller towns to the average person. because our brand tracking research was also telling us that the empathy factor that people had with us was not very high.
Okay.
So if you ask somebody, which are the banks, which are the financial organizations you remember, they would remember ICICI. But if you ask them which are the banks, yeah, Manish, just give me a minute, I'll be with you. I need you to do some just very quick work for me. But you ask them, here's a list of banks and institutions, and which of these institutions do you think is meant for people like you? They would not take our name.
Okay.
So that was what we call the empathy factor. And the empathy factor was not high enough. We were seen as being not for the common man.
So the common man put you on a kind of a pedestal, unapproachable, untouchable. Okay.
Yeah. Because we were a private sector bank, our branches looked very posh. The doors were closed, there was a security guard outside, inside was air conditioned, there were these fancy. That is not how banking was at that time. So people felt a little bit intimidated and felt that this is not for the common man, this is for somebody exclusive. So we wanted to create an empathy factor. And that's where we said that perhaps we need somebody who, is the sort of the, a good, what's the word, who personifies, empathy.
I was just going to say face for the word.
Yeah, the face for the person. And we need something like that. And it was at about that time that Kaun Banega Crorepati had just started to become very popular. And, so there was this proposal that should we, ask Mr. Bachchan to be our brand ambassador. And, we did our own analysis to see that, what are the pros and cons, where is it that it will be a good fit, where is it that there may be some gaps. So for instance, one of the gaps we clearly identified was that we want to present ourselves as a young brand, but the fact is Mr. Bachchan is not that young.
Yes.
But, there were many other things that we wanted, for instance, the empathy factor, which was our biggest priority. And the whole issue of, for people to consider us their friend, philosopher and guide, that is what we wanted. And in KBC, Mr. Bachchan actually was positioned as the friend, philosopher and guide.
Yeah.
So we saw so much of synergy and, sort of overlap over there that we said that we must do that.
You were sponsoring it also at that
We
point.
were sponsoring only the check. When he would write out the check, that was something that we would, that was our check. So that was our sponsorship. So, and he said Bachchan. So we signed him on for 2 years. And
who actually approached him? You did?
No, it was, if I recollect, it was, I think it was, intermediated. And I certainly recollect that, we had, I won't name the people.
Yes.
The two people who were involved in bringing the two together.
So there was an intermediary. Obviously, there has to be.
We didn't know him.
Yeah.
He didn't know us. There was, in fact, there were two people who were involved. Yeah, so who actually thought of Mr. Bachchan? There was a sort of other names also along with him. See, various names were thought of, but somehow the fit, and as we were debating this whole thing, I would say that final decision of whether or not to go with him was actually Mr. Kant. And I can certainly recollect that Chanda and I were not very sure. We were still thinking, should we wait, should we look for somebody else, There were two things bothering us. One was that he was not very young, and the second was that, his ABCL, he had lost money and, he owed money to people, and it's by, nobody doubted his integrity. The fact is that he was a defaulter and he still needed to. He had repaid some, but some was still outstanding. There were some of those issues. So I think there was, enough debate about it. But I think that final thing saying, no, let's just go with it, and it's, these things will iron themselves out, but, his persona is such that it will overcome these issues. So let's go with Mr. Kant.
You want to go and do your thing?
I'll just finish the Bachchan period so that my train of thought. So therefore then he came on board for a period of 2 years, and As I said, since the whole, objective now of communication. So the first objective was just get name recognition. The second objective was let's display our product and let's talk about why we are different from others. This third objective of the third phase was creating empathy. So therefore, this whole campaign with Bachchan was designed to say, we are your friend, philosopher and guide. So for instance, that whole campaign was called Bharosemand Sathi. Okay. So Bachchan would, some of the dialogue I can remember was, okay, and maybe again we'll show you those films.
Let's go on. We just got talking.
So that whole period, was this whole theme of Bharosemand Sathi, and we wanted that, Bachchan being perceived as Bharosemand Sathi, and for us, by way of association, to be considered the Bharosemand Sathi of people in terms of whatever they want to do in terms of their money, whether it is to borrow or to give or to lend or to, just invest or whatever it is, they should trust us as their friend, philosopher and guide. So that is the third phase, of our whole communication exercise. And again, that phase also gave us another kicker in terms of, both in terms of these image parameters as well as in terms of salience. So while we were not looking so much for salience because we had already reached quite a good level, but it gave us that additional bump up simply because, Bachchan is Bachchan. And the good thing was, of course, that, he had universal appeal, any part of the country and, including overseas NRIs and so on and so forth.